All right. It's okay. It's 8:03 on Tuesday, June 14th, 2016. I'd like to call the regular council meeting of the City of Twinsburg to order. Mr. Maestros, call the roll.
Mrs. Stauffer.
Here.
Mr. Roden.
Here.
Mr. Ceresi.
Here.
Mr. Fury. Mr. Scafidi.
Here.
Mr. Steele.
Here.
Ms. McFerrin.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll have invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Ceresi. Please rise.
We ask for guidance and direction in all city matters before us tonight. We give thanks to be able to be together. Let us continue to strive to make our community a better place. Help us to work together, and may we give our best always. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next we have the approval of the minutes from our May 24th meeting. Does anybody have any changes or corrections? Okay, hearing none, the minutes will stand as written. Audience participation.
Michael Turrell. Oh, I got your time.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Michael Turrell, 9930 Forest Lake Drive. I floated something out there on Twinsburg Roundtable, and I was invited by the Parks and Rec Commission. I was also to present this idea, and I was also invited by the Environmental Commission. I'm going to bring this to them at their next meeting. I think it's in September. I got a few ideas that I just figured I would throw out there for you guys, just for your perusal. I'm not expecting any kind of action. I'm not looking for that. Just some of the things that I wanted to bring for Parks and Rec. First idea is what I call the TREE program, Twinsburg Reforestation Environmental Effort. When my parents bought the Walton Farm property, I bought these little baby pine trees, little babies this big, 24 cents a piece. For $300, I got 1,000 saplings, and I stuck these things in the ground. Here we are 16 years later, and I've got 15 to 30-foot tall, beautiful hedgerow trees, gorgeous. This is something I would like, if we could possibly bring this into the city. Parks and Rec may or may not be the right place. Environmental, it would take a cooperation between different programs. Service department would be heavily involved. I know that we spend, I've seen before, $30,000 to $80,000 on tree lawn trees, depending upon how much development we have within the city in a particular year. I noticed coming down Ravenna Road, coming up to Massaras, there had to be 12 or 14 trees in the tree lawn that are dead, and I know that we have a program in place to replace these. With this program, what we could do is we could actually be growing our own trees. Yes, we're buying little baby trees, and it takes a little while for these things to mature and grow. There's other ways around this. Would take an investment. I've seen these tree spades. I've been on jobs where they actually use these. It's a big piece of equipment. You can get smaller ones that mount on the front of a skid steer Bobcat. For $4,000, I've seen truck-mounted units that go up to $55,000. One-time investment. You buy one of these things, you assign 2 guys to it, it's their baby, they take care of it. But we can go into our park system right now, and we can harvest some of these trees. We can do this with the the arborist. We have a city arborist, or we used to. I don't know if we still do. Stanley Stein, I'm sure, would want to be involved with this. But rather than spending money every year on going out and just buying trees and paying someone to put them in, we can start doing this within our own city program here and save money, and it would generate a return on its investments. Another idea, this is kind of specific to Parks and Rec, canoe trips down Tinker's Creek. This is something that I've heard a lot of people, we used to do it, and they would love this idea. This is great family quality time. Rather than going out and renting canoes, I priced canoes online between $179 and $400. So let's say that we got one canoe for $300. If we rented these things out for $30 a trip, it'd be paid for in 10 trips. You could do 2 trips a day. We could buy up to 8 or 10 canoes. This could be something that could be run through the Parks and Rec. You put in at I'm not going to say the old school. Okay, I did. Or you could put in at Baldwin Park, and we could float them all the way down to Idlewood Park, pull them out. People could drop a car at either end and just transport the canoes. These things, I believe, they would be booked through the summer. This is just good, easy family fun here. And these two programs would, in time, eventually be self-sustaining and pay for themselves and actually generate capital. And I know that with Parks and Rec right now, you guys are looking at this big fence issue, and you're kind of concerned about spending money there, and along with the budget issues that we have otherwise, we don't need to find places to spend money, but these will sustain themselves. The last idea I came up with here, I was working downtown Cleveland, and I see all these food trucks parked out on by Cuyahoga County Courthouse, and I asked the guy what's going on. He says, "Oh, we do this every Monday," and people come up by the droves, and they line up for these things. You said 1 minute?
Yes.
Somebody? Thank you, sir. I'll be as brief as I can. Food Truck Friday. This is, like, to me, a very simple, easy thing here. We can get these food trucks, invite these guys out. I know there's a little bit of planning involved in getting them, but we could close off Church Street with literally no effect to traffic and line up 3 or 4 food trucks out there and invite the people out for an event. We could have Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, swing choir bands set up their little booths and sell their wares or whatever. These are things, and this wouldn't really cost us anything other than the investment of time of doing it. We could even charge a fee for these trucks to show up because they're going to be making some money, and bring the community out. These are, like I said, they're kind of simple ideas, but they're beautiful in their simplicity that they can be implemented without any real major cost, and the ones that do have a financial investment that would be in time recouped and brought back into the city to cover themselves and actually bring money back in after the fact. So
Time.
that's all I got. So thank you. Wow, that was good. Right on time. If you guys have any questions, I got to pick up my son at Scouts a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who else do we have?
Thanks.
Bob Hughes.
My name is Bob Thews, and of course I live in Meadowwood, 2229 Demi Drive. I'd like to really take a moment to thank Councilman Roden, the mayor, and our law director who worked with me after the meeting last week to kind of come up with a reasonable solution to a little bit of a complicated situation at the Meadowwood community. So it looks like there's a reasonable resolution in hand. So I want to thank everybody who and I don't know if anybody else was involved in it, but those 3 I do know. So I do appreciate what you did, and I will tell you, we had a meeting last week, and we had residents come to that meeting asking this question: what's going on with the front? Are you guys taking care of that? Are we not? What's the situation? I set up. I'm hoping to get an answer, and you provided. So thank you very much.
Thanks. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Chuck Bonacci.
Good evening, Council. Chuck Bonacci, 11327 Heritage Drive. Come here today as a member of the Environmental Commission. And I want to thank Council and the city for helping support the Document Shredding Day and Recycling Day. We had a wicked successful day. We started at 9, but our first residents with documents to shred showed up at 8. We had a line down the Service Department Road that maybe would take a half hour to drop off the documents. We set a goal to fill the truck, and we did. So in filling the truck with 12,000 pounds of material that's headed off to recycling, we saved 5,000 trees. Those 5,000 trees that we saved generate oxygen and stuff. This Daisy shared this with me, that help people breathe clean, fresh, beautiful air. Now, it probably was all offset by the traffic jam we created. But the guys from the service department did a fabulous job unloading those trucks. Sam was there with some stuff.
You unloaded mine. You did a great job.
He showed up with a little... He waited in a long line to shred a small
20 minutes.
And unfortunately, we had to turn away some other folks, and I apologize to them.
The rest of us that came late.
What's that?
The rest of us that came late.
So Yeah, like my parents. So we were incredibly successful. 12,000 pounds of material. Had to shut down an hour early, a little bit more than an hour early. And I think I bring this to you because there were a lot of people mad at me as I told them, we were too good, we were too good. So there's probably going to be some requests coming in that we could do this either more frequently or the larger truck. And this is the first time we filled it. It's 3 years. The first year, we filled about half of the truck. The second year, we filled about 3/4 of the truck. And this year, we could have had a second truck and maybe even a third one. Now, I don't know if the next time we do it, if we'll be as successful, but there was great promotion, and there were a lot of people that showed up.
Yeah, I think we've already talked about when we do our hazardous waste in the fall, we'll go ahead and advertise for shredding also and have a truck to do shredding. We may have to separate them because that's going to be a busy day also. But I know there was probably, I talked to Jamie after, at least 100 cars you guys turned away, and we took more documents than we could fit in the truck, and those, just to let you know, are gone. So we took care of that. It was a good success, and thanks for all your work. And I know it was a hot day, and a lot of people out there working hard. So.
Especially Chris's guys. They were out there from an hour before we started till well after we left them. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Carla Zellner.
Good evening. I'm Carla Zellner. Can you hear me? 1849 Stanford Street. And I have a concern about the work that's being done across the fence. I live at the dead end of Stanford, which is next to the Cornerstone, the stuff that's going on at the Cornerstone. And I had some questions and concerns. I was wondering if there was going to be standing water, because where we live, which is like almost at the corner, the southeastern corner of the fence, it drops and then kind of levels off. And I was wondering if there was going to be standing water there, or if they're going to have some water that's moving so we wouldn't have to worry about mosquitoes. And are they supposed to, I wanted to know if they were supposed to be carrying the barrier, the sound barrier, from where FedEx is down to the end, like at the same position away from the fence that is there now, if you know what I mean. I'm sorry if you can't understand what I'm saying. I'm hoping I'm making this plain, because if they remove the fence, it's going to be about, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 feet away from our home. And I'm concerned about the drop, because we have grandkids, and I wouldn't want them to, go running and dropping. You have grandkids, you understand.
Sure.
Or even kids, you understand. And will there be time for more input and questions concerning the Cornerstone building, the land preparation and whatnot that they're doing for Amazon?
Go ahead and just share your concerns, and then there may be a department head here that could answer your questions, or possibly the mayor. So go ahead. You want to finish answing?
Those were my concerns.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then you can have a seat, and then I'll call on somebody.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, we've got your information, and a couple of the questions you ask is, we'll make sure that there's an adequate barrier between that. We have concerns with that connection to that residential area too. So I know we were working, there was a lot of dust, and we're trying to work with them on keeping that down and different things. So I've got your phone number. I'll find out some more information and track you down. Okay, you're welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Side note, you have a great son.
Oh, yeah.
If Larney's your son, you have a great son.
Larney your
I
son?
just have to say that.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Taught my son and my daughter how to swim. He's a great guy.
He's great. Yeah, he's a great kid.
Just had to say it.
Well done. All of them.
Okay. Anybody else?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, that's it. And that ends the audience participation. Next, we'll move on. No awards or presentations, I see. Council communication and committee reports. Mr. Ceresi.
Haven't had any meetings, but the Twinsday will meet this Wednesday at the Twinsday offices at 7 o'clock. And next week is the Community Relations Board will be meeting, I believe, in the township. And that's it. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. Ms. McFerrin.
Parks and Recreations Committee met last Tuesday. Several people came from the various soccer organizations. They attended a meeting to discuss the need for more soccer fields, and Derek is going to be setting up a meeting for all interested parties and see what we can come up with and have further discussion. And the Chamber met on Wednesday, and they asked me to relay that the Taste of Twinsburg is this Saturday, and that the Chamber has VIP tickets, and they're available pre-sale for $25 and $30 at the door. So Taste of Twinsburg will be in the square from 2 to 8. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Under my committees, Finance, Capital Improvement, and Public Works Compensation Committee, none of my committees met. So in Mr. Fury's absence tonight, he asked me to give his report for the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission met on June 6th. At their work session, they had a revised final site plan for Building A up at Cornerstone that was on Independence Parkway. They also had a final plat, final subdivision plat for Cornerstone Business Park Phase 3, again on Independence Parkway, and their third item under the work session was update to zoning and development regulations, Section 1195, the site development regulations. That ended their work session. Under their regular meeting, they had the final subdivision plat for Cornerstone Business Park Phase 3 on Independence Parkway, and that was approved by the Planning Commission 5-0. They also discussed the update of the zoning and development regulations, and I'm sure they'll be discussing that further at their next meeting, which will be on Monday, June 20th, right here at the City Hall. Other than that, that was it under Planning Commission and under his report. So we will move on to Mr. Roden.
Thank you. None of my committees have met, but just kind of piggybacking off of what Mr. Bonacci was talking about with the shredding. We'd like to thank Foreman Joe Kerrigan, Bobby Schultz, Joel Sarver, Paul DiCarlo, and Al Morelli, plus Chris. We'd like to thank you as well. And also I'd like to thank the commissioners, Scott Barr, Chuck Bonacci, Jamie Zamekio, and Daisy Walker, of course. So you guys have been doing an awesome job, and everything this year has just been growing and bigger and bigger and better. So you guys are doing awesome. And that is, and then also household hazardous waste and e-waste. We're tentatively scheduled for September, and a meeting will be held with Chris Campbell regarding these events, and we'll figure out a date, and I'll report on that once we know what that is. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Steele.
The ARB met on June the 2nd. There were 3 items on the agenda that were sent back for more information. There was 3 houses approved up in Corbett's. One of the houses that had been approved had a change to the house approved, and they also approved 3 additions to the houses. And I would like to ask Mr. Roden and Maureen if we can get together with a safety committee meeting on, I think, our first meeting in July, the 12th. It's the second Tuesday.
I do have a meeting
We
prior.
just scheduled.
Yeah. CIC meeting.
Okay. So we can, all right, we're going to go on break after that, correct?
Yes.
Then I would like to, when are we coming back?
Second meeting in August, 4th Tuesday.
So the 23rd.
23rd. I'd like to.
Safety.
Yep. Now, Sam, you got a finance committee meeting scheduled, tentatively scheduled. for
Tentatively
that.
scheduled,
I
yeah.
only want maybe 15, 20 minutes max.
Okay.
Run a couple of ideas.
Our meeting's at, I believe it's at 6.
Right. If we have something to talk about.
Right.
Right.
Which we were supposed to have one this month, when we didn't have it, or the end of
Well,
the end
the
of
one
May.
this month is the next council meeting, correct?
Mhm. Yeah,
And
it
we
should be
will
at the
be
next
meeting,
council
yeah.
meeting. We didn't have the May meeting
Right.
at the end of May, so most likely there will be.
Okay, well, I would like to get together for like maybe 15 minutes before that, if you guys can make it.
Yep. I put it
Okay.
down.
Yep.
So yours will be at 5:45,
Yeah.
safety meeting.
Right.
Thank you.
That it?
That's all. We didn't have a finance meeting, so.
Okay. Mrs. Stauffer.
Okay, the Board of Zoning Appeals met on June 8th. There was one item on the agenda, and it was a variance for 995 Brook Hill Circle. And they were requesting an 8-foot setback variance. The Board of Zoning Appeals did approve it, so at this time I'd like to make a motion to approve this variance. Appeal 007-2016. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, I think David does that. Can I?
Okay, let's see. Mrs. Stauffer, could you give me the variance number one more time?
Sure, it's 115304.
Okay, and vote on the variance, Mrs. Stauffer.
Yes.
Mr. Sorese.
Yes.
Mr. Roden.
Yes.
Mr. Fury. Mr. Scafidi.
Yes.
Mr. Steele.
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin.
Yes.
And that is all I have.
Okay, very good. Then we'll move on to the mayor's report. Mayor Yates.
Yes, thank you. I attended the Dodge Breakfast of Champions. So I know we spent a lot of time talking about our high school students and a lot of their sporting events and awards, but I just wanted to recognize, we have a lot of, our school system here is something to really be proud of, and this is 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and it's a great event, and it just really highlights those kids, not only for what they do academically, but what they do in their contributions to the community and the character that they've shown throughout the school year. So I just want to recognize them. I did attend a new business that's opened in town called Seth and Sasha's. It's a kind of upscale consignment shop for smaller kids that's right next to the little gym. So I encourage residents who have smaller kids or family that has smaller kids to go and check out that business. But they're opened up now. I did attend the Chamber Golf Outing, which was another great event and great day. It seems every year we have good weather for that event, so it was well attended, and it's a great event that's organized by the Chamber. Also, Rock the Park has kicked off, so we had our first concert Friday night. It was a little bit of competition with the Cavs game, so wasn't quite the attendance we were expecting, but still, it was a fun night. Mr. Speed was there. It was they're always a fun band to have at Rock the Park. The next Rock the Park concert is June 24th, and that will be Shout. On that same night is also Relay for Life. So I just want to warn residents and also encourage residents to attend the Relay for Life. The website for Relay for Life is relayforlife.org/Twinsburg. If you're not part of a team or want more information about the event, check it out. So those will be going on simultaneously. The band has also agreed to have kind of a moment of silence while they do the candelabra at the stadium. So it's great that those can coordinate, go on at the same time, and happen in Twinsburg here. The next event that I want to highlight, we've seen some little small signs around Twinsburg, but the Blitz Obstacle Course event's going to be going on June 25th. It's a 2-mile inflatable mud, dirt, woods obstacle course for kids, kind of like a Tough Mudder, but for ages, I believe, 7 to 17 or 9 to 17. So I know Mr. Scafidi wants to participate, but we'll have to see.
I didn't hear the age
category
limit.
we can slide him in. But it's at Lynn Chamberlain Park, so up behind the stadium, outdoor pool. But it should be a fun event. They approached us, and we supported it, and it's going to be going on in town here. So if you're not participating or have a kid participating, I'd encourage you to come up because it should be a lot of fun. This past weekend, the Fill-A-Bag, Feed a Family program concluded, and I want to thank everyone who contributed to that and all the volunteers. There was, again, hundreds of volunteers that came out at worked the warehouse, that went and picked up food. So thanks to everyone that helped participate in that. Again, the Taste of Twinsburg is coming up this weekend on Saturday. I believe it's starting around 2 p.m. So I encourage you to come out. It should be this event seems to grow every year, and I know with Hudson, I believe is not doing theirs, so we should really have some great attendance. And I know we've got a lot of participation with the restaurants all around this area. So I encourage everyone to come out. One thing that I just want everyone to kind of save a date for, and this is a new event for Twinsburg. So we've done our open house in October during Fire Safety Week at our fire station, and it really has become much more of a firehouse event than it has a police event. And so nationally, it's called National Night Out, which is it's basically promotes that police community partnership. And on the same night, the first Tuesday in August, all the communities around this area, if they choose to participate, has a large event highlighting the police force and trying to get the community out engaging with the police force. So we're going to do that this year at the stadium. We're planning it right now. The Rotary has been generous to offer their time in helping us organize it, but I just want to kind of pin that date in because it should be a big event, a lot of fun. We'll have a safety force challenge between fire and police, as well as we're going to serve hot dogs, and we'll have vendors, and we'll have a kids zone and a DJ, so it should be a whole lot of fun. So just mark that date. And then lastly, I just want to wish all the fathers out there a happy Father's Day this weekend, and go Cavs.
Amen.
That's all I have.
Amen.
Let's do department head report. All right. Assistant Chief Basso, you want to start?
Good evening, Council. May was a pretty busy month for the fire department. Even though we're down 7%, we saw some increases in EMS and MVA. We looked at the fire runs, why we're down 18%, and we can happily attribute them to less false alarms. We took a different approach over the last year. When we issue a false alarm report at night, sometimes it didn't make it to the head office. So I personally call every business that gets one, and you'd be surprised 80% goes, we had a what? So that means they get the service out there, and they get the alarm to stop getting false readings, and we don't have to roll out on nuisance calls. So that's a good thing. On a notable event on the 19th of May, we had, in a 7.5-hour period, we had 12 calls, and 9 of those were in a 4.5-hour period. So that's a pretty narrow time frame to have so many calls. We had to utilize mutual aid, and our neighbors were busy, so we didn't get our first choice on that mutual aid on that first one. But we did take care of all the calls, but it was a very busy day for the crews. The fire investigation and fire prevention bureaus working marvelously. They're putting out a lot of work. We started tracking our personal contacts about 3 months ago. We had 12 events. We had personal contacts totaling 462. That means we dealt with 462 people, either with smoke alarms, fire safety education, extinguisher training, and that's over 10 hours. So we're really proud of that. Community engagement. We're not just the fire department or EMS. We engage the community. Happily, the weather warning system is running perfectly. No malfunctions in the test. Everything went great. Hydrant flushing, we're waiting for 91 in some road construction areas, but we are about 90% complete, so we're ahead of last year, and we should be done with that shortly. We have a ladder truck that's still being serviced, is getting painted. We still have another one in service, so we're transferring that between stations as need be with the other vehicles. Event planning going very well. I appreciate Derek's his involvement in the process. It was relatively new to him last year. We started in Rock the Park and Twins Days and Taste at Twinsburg. So all those are easy to do now because the templates are already created. So Derek's been great. Taste at Twinsburg is done. I emailed the department heads their event plan, and I'll drop off the hard copies to the township offices. It is in the township, on township property. So that's going well. And the CERT team, I'm very proud of them this month, and it's not even over yet. They have been really, really busy with all the city events, the duathlon, and it always rains for that, so they stand out in the rain, but it's for an hour and a half, and they have a good time doing it. They look good in their green vests. They worked the food drive, and they didn't just work the food drive; they did logistics for it. So they had their radios, and they were talking back and forth on what vehicles go where. Rock the Park is another addition this year. You'll see 2 or 3, maybe up to 4 of them at a concert. As the night gets darker, we don't want people to wander off, but it's more of a community engagement thing. We're trying to recruit too. We want more and more volunteers to join, and that's the key to it. And you'll see them at Taste of Twinsburg handing out brochures and where to get the applications. So that's all I have for the fire department. Any questions?
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks.
Chief Noga?
Good evening. During the month of May, the City of Twinsburg Communications Center generated 2,200 calls for service among the Twinsburg Police and Fire Departments and the Reminderville Police and Fire Departments. The total call count for the year is 10,569. Twinsburg police officers arrested and cited 186 suspects into court on 231 different counts. Officers issued 168 written warnings and 17 parking citations. Officers investigated 39 traffic crashes, of which 11 were injury crashes, 10 were on private property, and none were fatal. I'm pleased to report that our Community Services Bureau is up and running. The Bureau consists of Officer Ron Frisella and Officer Greg Kopniski, who function as school resource officers during the school year. So this summer, as part of the Community Services Bureau, they're doing a lot of community outreach to not only the business community but seniors, tailoring programs towards different interests within the community. So there's an article that will be in the bulletin this week on them. Cable 9 was out today to do some interviews. They have a presentation lined up at the library on Monday, this coming Monday at 6:30, on scams. They'll be reaching out to the senior. That's geared towards seniors, and I think they have another couple programs as well. So if you can check our Facebook page or our website with information on any of the programming they're doing. But it's a great opportunity for us to get out there and do some of those things that engage with homeowners associations and things like that, and really get some feedback from our community. So if you have any questions about it, please feel free to give me a call or call Ron or Greg. They'll be happy to talk with you about it. That's all I have.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
All right. Chris?
Good evening, Council. Well, the Public Works Department is pretty busy this time of year. Grass cutting, taking care of berms, and a lot of park maintenance and what have you. In addition to that, they completed the 3rd round of branch chipping. There were a total of 600 stops, and they collected 225 cubic feet of material. So we will be back out there in July, first Monday in July, and that program again will run through November. So doing a good job there. Street sweeper, we've got the new street sweeper out there. It finally made its way through the entire city for the first round. It took them 23 days to complete that round, but last year we had a lot of mechanical problems with that old unit, so the streets weren't quite as clean as we had hoped. But they've caught up, and the streets look good, and the unit's running real well. So, in addition, the storm area checks, those continue to go well. We never collect much debris out of those. For years we had issues, and I think we've taken care of a lot of those issues with cleaning of those systems. Sidewalk leveling has gone really well. I'd say we're still in a little bit of the development stage with that, trying different materials and different ways of doing that, but we've completed 16 different locations, and we've got, where are they going? They're going into Meadowwood next, and they're perfecting this thing, so I think we're going to kind of gain a little momentum with that thing. It's doing a really nice job with a lot of these sidewalks. So now we're anxious to see how quickly we can get through the different areas. So a lot of information yet to be gathered, but we're pretty happy with that program. The next program we're going to bring online next week will be the hydrant painting. We've got that new unit to the plug hug to take the paint off of them. We're going to spray paint those once we get them done. And again, new program. We're not sure how quick it'll go, but we know from the demonstration that it takes 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes to totally strip a hydrant. They're saying about the same time to paint them. So we're going to go out there, we're going to strip them, we're going to go back maybe the next day and paint them. So we're looking for some real good things there. We're going to start down Ravenna Road next week, given that they consider that the parade route. So we want to make sure that looks good. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to move into Glenwood Acres. And Glenwood Acres really is the area that's in maybe the most need at this point. So go through there, see how that goes, and then we'll see how long we can stay with that. So we're we'd still like to do the sidewalk leveling. So we're going to see if we can kind of maintain both those programs for a while. Sewer cleaning, the guys were just up on Waldaway and Sharon Brook in that area, making their way through that area. So they usually post the signs when they're cleaning an area. Community gardens, we got a late start on that because of weather this year, but the community gardens were all prepared, and people are planting their gardens up there, so that's looking pretty good. We went into Glen Meadow Park and did a total upgrade on the lights. That parking lot is now all LEDs, so we're excited about that. Found instead of changing out the whole head, they found a light that is much cheaper than you expect with LEDs. So they did the total parking lot up there, and we're gonna be working with Derek on his parking lots. So we're gonna see how many of those LEDs we can get deployed out throughout the system. So that should be a little bit of cost savings. And then one of the areas we just started was the baseball field on 82 here, the small ball field. We're trying to do a facelift with a lot of the park stuff. So they took on that ball field and poured some concrete for pads for things. We're putting the dugout covers on that, doing some general maintenance on the grass. So it's looking pretty good. So it's one of those fields that people see a lot. So we're kind of targeting those kind of things. So they're doing a lot of upgrades like that, and I think it's going to pay off. So looks real good. And that's my report.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Larry?
Thank you. Good evening. There are three items on Council's agenda tonight that come from Planning and Zoning. Ordinance 56 and 57 will rezone land at Glenwood and 91 at that northeast corner. They will rezone a commercial piece of property of about 1.5 acres or slightly larger, a PF parcel of 19 acres, and a PUD parcel of about, I believe it's 5.8 acres, something like that, to residential cluster. This would be the second attempt at this. It was only failed by a small margin, and we're hoping that having a more informed attempt at this will result in success and bring this project forward. Ordinance 67 is the approval of Phase 3 of Cornerstone, the plat for that particular phase as recommended by Planning Commission. This Phase 3 plat will extend Independence Parkway for approximately 750 feet and make about 60 acres at the south end developable. And speaking of Cornerstone and development activity there, the foundation work is currently underway for a Phase 3 building of 248,000 square feet. It's a fast track building. Hopefully it'll be completed by around November. Planning and Zoning has acquired a 629 Roadway Development Fund grant in the amount of $310,000 to go towards the improvement of that roadway extension. Also, we've acquired a ODOT Jobs and Commerce grant of $177,000. Both those project grants are reimbursement style grants, which means we have to spend the money first, show that we've spent it, and they get reimbursed for the expenditure. So there will be a budget amendment coming related to that, but it's just to enable us to encumber that certain amount of money so that we can charge against it and then get reimbursed by the state. You may have noticed that the site clearance has begun for the long-awaited Dunkin' Donuts on State Road 82. Trees are being removed, and the house will be removed very shortly. So that's underway. And also, just a point to be made here: the Twinsburg Community Improvement Corporation is sponsoring a gold dining tent at the Taste of Twinsburg this coming Saturday, the 18th. So look forward to seeing people there. And then other than that, we're working through some income tax revenue sharing policy changes with the school district, and we'll be coming back to you shortly on those kinds of issues. And that's it.
Thank you.
Mr. Finch, got a question. And you may not know this, I think. We're looking at donating right-of-way space up on 91 by Glenwood tonight. I'm assuming it's for those two pieces of property we just talked about. Do you know that?
Up by Glenwood?
Yeah.
The donation, yes. Yes.
Okay.
So
there's nothing north of that up
No.
towards Meadow?
No.
Okay.
You have a report? Come on up.
Good evening, Council. Since the golf course opened, we have been getting a lot of positive feedback from our customers regarding the Phase 2 improvements that occurred on holes 10 through 18 last fall. Some of the changes that took place include larger tee boxes, increased yardage, wider fairways, new style bunkers, and replacement of the original irrigation system. Phase 3, that is budgeted for this year as part of a 3-year master plan, went out to public bid on June 2nd. I also attended a pre-bid meeting with our golf course architect last week to discuss the proposed project. Other items: the beds on the golf course have been planted. We are keeping up with mowing, continuing with removal of poor-conditioned ash trees, bunker maintenance, and aggressively maintaining greens, tees, and fairways. The irrigation central computer and field satellites that were installed are performing effectively. So far, year to date, 2.8 million gallons have been pumped out onto the golf course compared to 3.5 million last year. The new equipment from this year's capital budget has been delivered and is in use. The old pieces have been traded in with the trade-in value applied toward the purchase. Aqueduct Pond Management Company has started their pond treatments on the golf course, which will continue until early fall. And lastly, as the mayor mentioned, we had the Chamber Golf Outing last Friday, which was a nice event for everybody. And next month, we have the Josh McTarian Golf Outing, which is scheduled for July 15th at Glen Eagles. Anyone interested can contact the police department or the clubhouse for information regarding that. That includes my report.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim,
Yes.
I like the wide fairways. We have widened our fairways. It's wonderful. We've got the rough cut down. I'm a happy camper.
Thank you.
With the exception of one thing. The two-legged flying geese that are all over our golf course. We got to do something about those things.
Okay.
I think we're past the time this year, but we need to get started on whatever we're going to do with them next year. Or they're going to come back, we're going to put all the money into the golf course, and we're going to have problems.
Okay.
So let's start getting some research done. You know more of the stuff on it, but let's get started on next year so that we know what we're going to do with them. And if that means we got to, what do they do? Shake eggs?
Right. We
and
could
all
look
the
at
other stuff?
look at permits for egg shaking. I know there might be some devices out there that might scare tactics as well for the geese. So we could look at that information and come up hopefully with some sort of a solution.
Let's look at it, but let's get it done. Okay. Don't.
Okay.
I mean, we can pay lip service to it and say we're going to look at it, and
Right.
we got to do something. Okay. Oh, and the other thing is, Thank you for putting those flags out at that little chipping area. I appreciate that. I think it's something that will grow and make the golf course that practice area even better.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks, Jim.
That's all we have this evening.
That's it? Okay. Now we will move on to legislation. Let's start with Ordinance 47, 2016.
An ordinance adopting the tax budget of the City of Twinsburg, Ohio for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2017, and submitting the same to the county auditor.
Okay, this stands on its second reading. Tonight's its third reading, so I'd like to make a motion at this time. Karen has talked with us about this the last two meetings. So at this time, I'll make a motion that we adopt Ordinance 47, 2016. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Oh,
you.
Mrs.
I'll yield.
Mrs. Stauffer seconds.
Okay.
Council, any more discussion? Okay, hearing none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury? Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Okay, Ordinance 47, 2016 passes 6-0. Next, we have Ordinance 50, 2016.
An ordinance approving the recodification, editing, and inclusion in certain ordinances as parts of the various component codes of the codified ordinances of Twinsburg, Ohio.
Okay, that's its second reading tonight. Ordinance 51, 2016.
An ordinance amending Section 1323.05 of the codified ordinances of the City of Twinsburg, increasing certain permit fees charged by the building department.
Okay, and that will be its second reading as well. Next, we have Ordinance 53, 2016.
An ordinance accepting the bid of Petty Group LLC for the 2016 Water Park Fence Replacement Project. Are we just reading this, or is this also with emergency?
We're going to read this.
Okay.
That's it. Okay, that was also its second reading on that one. Next, we have Ordinance 56, 2016.
An ordinance rezoning certain property, parcel number 64-05379, 19.20 acres in Twinsburg, Ohio, owned by the City of Twinsburg from PUD, 5.19 acres, and public facilities, 14.01 acres, to R5 single-family cluster district use.
Okay, again, that is on its second reading then tonight. Next, we have Ordinance 57, 2016.
An ordinance rezoning certain property, parcel number 64-08056, 0.8045 acres in Twinsburg, Ohio, owned by the City of Twinsburg from C1 commercial use to R5 single-family cluster district use.
Okay, and that will be its second reading as well. Resolution 58, 2016.
A resolution declaring the month of August 2016 as Summit Kids Month in the City of Twinsburg.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution 58, 2016. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Steele. Any discussion, Council? Call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Fury? Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 58, 2016 passes 6-0. Resolution 59, 2016.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement for animal control services with Summit County.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution 59, 2016. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Roden seconds. Council, any discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
And Mr. Fury?
Okay. Resolution 59, 2016 passes 6-0. Next, we have Ordinance 60, 2016.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for various general and special revenue accounts as established in Ordinance 06, 2016, the appropriation ordinance of the City of Twinsburg for the year 2016, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we suspend the rules on Ordinance 60, 2016, place it on its third and final reading, and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. McFerrin. Any discussion on the emergency? Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Okay, would somebody like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 60, 2016 as an emergency?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Sorese makes the motion. Is there a second? Mr. Steele, any discussion?
No, this particular ordinance is actually, the overall net effect is decreasing the budget for engineering. They had budgeted for $32,000 for a new vehicle. However, as we work toward replacing our frontline police vehicles, the vehicles coming off of that front line we own. So in an effort to not spend this $32,000, we will be re-equipping one of those vehicles once we get the new ones in, and engineering will have use of that versus buying a new vehicle. But then they're also increasing their budget, redoing the engineering room. We have two kind of main conference rooms that's used here besides council chambers. One is next to my office, and the other is engineering, and both of them get used quite a bit. So we're replacing some chairs, getting new tables, and updating that conference room.
Okay. Anything else? Call the roll.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Fury? And Mr. Scafidi?
Yes. Okay, ordinance 60, 2016 passes 6-0 as an emergency. Next, we have ordinance 61, 2016.
An ordinance accepting the bid of Perkin-Elmer Health Sciences, Inc. for the purchase of an inductively coupled plasma optical emission spectrometer for use by the wastewater treatment plant and declaring an emergency.
I'll make a motion that we suspend the rules on ordinance 61, 2016, place it on its third and final reading, and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Sorese seconds. Any discussion on the emergency?
Would you like to explain that to the public, sir?
I can't even say it. Anybody have any discussion on that? Okay, call the roll.
On the emergency, Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Fury? And Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Okay, I need would somebody like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 61, 2016 as an emergency?
So moved.
Mr. Sorese, who wants to second that? Mr. Steele. Any more discussion? Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Fury? And Mr. Scafidi?
Yes. Ordinance 61, 2016 passes 6-0 as an emergency. Resolution 62, 2016.
A resolution authorizing the city to enter into an agreement with Murphy Tractor and Equipment Company, Incorporated, for the purchase of a John Deere 310 SL HL backhoe loader for use by the Service Department.
Okay. Did this need to be an emergency?
No.
It's a resolution, so I don't think.
So okay, so
I
we're
think
just
we're
good.
fine.
All right. I'll make a motion that we adopt Resolution 62, 2016.
I'll second.
Mr. Sorese seconds. Any discussion? Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
And Mr. Fury?
Okay, Resolution 62, 2016 passes 6-0. Next, we have Ordinance 63, 2016.
An ordinance authorizing right-of-way donations and easements of city-owned property for the State Route 91 Phase 2 Widening Improvement Project, sum -91-21.65, PID 92032.
Okay, and that'll be its first reading tonight. Resolution 64, 2016.
A resolution authorizing the sale at auction of certain personal property owned by the city of Twinsburg and no longer needed for municipal purposes.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we adopt Resolution 64, 2016. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Roden seconds. Any discussion? Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury? And Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 64, 2016 passes 6-0. We have Ordinance 65, 2016.
An ordinance creating Chapter 1369 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Twinsburg, establishing a rental dwelling housing license code.
Okay, and that's the first reading on that ordinance. Next, we have Ordinance 66, 2016.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with E.L. Robinson Engineering for engineering services related to the Darrow Road Sidewalk Project.
And that is also the first reading on Ordinance 66. And finally, we have ordinance 67, 2016.
An ordinance accepting the final subdivision plat for Cornerstone Business Park Phase 3, date stamped received April 20th, 2016, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules on ordinance 67, 2016, place it on its third and final reading, and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Sorese, second. Any discussion? Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Fury? Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Okay, now would somebody like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 67, 2016 as an emergency?
So moved.
Mr. Sorese makes that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Roden seconds. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury? Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Okay, and that concludes our legislation for tonight. Next, we'll move on to unfinished business, new business, and miscellaneous business. Why don't we start down there, Mr. Mayor? Do you have anything? I'm sorry.
I have nothing else this evening.
Okay. Mr. Maestros, do you have anything on that?
No.
Okay. Mrs. Stauffer?
I have nothing.
Okay. Mr. Steele?
Yeah. Mayor,
Yes.
at the last ARB meeting, the fire department, the sign that got sent back for more information was for the fire department at Station 2 up on Glenwood Drive. It was one of the electronic signs. I guess my question, I probably should have got the Assistant Chief Basso and asked him, and I plan on calling him. Do you know anything about what they're going to do with this? Is it going to be interconnected so that stuff that is there would be at the Rex sign, and can we do that with those?
Yeah, I think that one of the purposes of that, as we talked about, was being able to promote citywide events up at that part of town, at the northern part of town. So that whether it's electronically connected where we control it here or the fitness center, or if it's controlled through the fire department, but there should be an organized programming of how we.
Okay,
how we do that. I mean,
that makes sense to
yeah.
me. That if we're going to be able to do that, that's a wonderful thing. And when are we going to put one out here at City Hall?
I know. I agree.
The fire department's getting it first. I don't like that.
And then also to let you know, the neighborhood sign is going to
Coming.
be delivered.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Steele?
That's it.
Okay. Mr. Roden?
I actually don't have much, but I do like to make a motion that we give. We're giving a $500. Is it a donation, basically?
Yeah, donation to
towards the Twinsburg Heights movie project.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any further discussion?
No, this
talk
is
about it a little bit?
thanks. Yeah, this is a project that's was put together to basically highlight the history of the Twinsburg Heights area. They did a lot of video footage. They have a lot of archived stuff. They did a lot of personal interviews, and they brought in a bunch of high school students to help film it, do the interviews, and do a lot of things. So I think it's going to be a great. I'm looking forward to seeing it next week at the Hilton, and they're looking for assistance to making this a nice unveiling of this documentary. So thank you for your support of this.
Anybody else want to say anything before we vote? Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
Thank you. No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, all I have is I just want to, I guess, we need to make a motion to recess to not have those two meetings, right, for the summer recess? Is that by motion, Mr. Maestros?
Either now or at the next meeting, yes. I mean, do you have those?
I have the dates.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to make a motion. Typically at this time of year, we recess 2 meetings in the summer. And so we usually have the first meeting in July, which will be July 12th. We will be here. And then we recess the July 26th meeting and then the August 9th meeting, and we return on the 4th Tuesday in August for that meeting. So the 2 meetings that we're going to recess would be July 26th and August 9th. So I would like to make a motion that we call that our summer recess, July 26th and August 9th. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Sorese, second. Okay. Council have any discussion? Okay, call the roll.
I'm sorry, is Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese, yeah.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
And Mr. Rode?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Council. We'll announce it again at the next meeting. And that brings me to our next meeting. Will be June 28th, right here at 7 o'clock. Will be the caucus meeting. I do want to mention one thing real quick. I was at the Shred Day, as was mentioned earlier, and I want to thank Daisy Walker, as usual, for doing a great job, and I guess Chuck Bonacci co-chaired that with her. And it was really, really a great event. The first time I had to wait in line, but it was well worth it, and it was taken care of, and I'm sure everybody appreciated that service here that we have in the city of Twinsburg. So thank you for all your hard work. Appreciate both of you. That's it. That's all I have. Ms. McFerrin.
Well, I just want to thank all the residents that came tonight, so thank you for coming. And I want to thank all the department heads and employees of the city that have helped me over the last couple of weeks with questions that I've had from residents. Everyone's always been so helpful, and happy Father's Day, and go Cavs.
Got it.
That's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Sorese.
I just had one thing. Ted, you went over the some of the Rock the Park. There's also something this Friday, isn't there?
Yeah, I believe this Friday is the library's doing a it's a Spanish oriented for their whole Learn Spanish theme, salsa night. So there are tickets available for that this Friday night. I don't know too many more details. I know there will be some food trucks there. So
yes.
We're going to operate it as similar to
That's
Rock
how
the
I
Park.
knew the boosters are selling hamburgers and hot dogs.
Yeah. So there'll be food there. So I encourage you, if you've been in tune with what's all going on with the library in terms of their Twinsburg Speak Spanish program, then but there are tickets available for that event.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay.
Just excuse me.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Next, we have to excuse our absent member, Mr. Fury. Would somebody like to make that motion?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Sorese makes that motion. Somebody want a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Steele. Okay. The motion is to excuse Mr. Fury from tonight's meeting. Any discussion, council? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Okay. He is excused. And if there's no further business, then we will adjourn tonight's meeting. Thank you.